I get you here.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the 2022 fall meeting. It's an exciting day for the Northeastern New York section as we elect our new secretary today. Share stories of hope and welcome PGA of America Secretary Don Rea and his lovely wife Karen to share today's meeting with us. Thank you. As many of you may or may not know, Don is the owner-operator of Augusta Ranch Golf Club in Mesa, Arizona, that employs several PGA professionals and pumps through an astonishing 53,000 rounds a year. Welcome again, Don, to the 40th largest section in the PGA America.
One of the oldest, though.
Absolutely. So on our agenda today, before we get to everything else there, we'll go through our special guests. Don, of course, Larry Kelly, our incoming District 1 Director. Larry. Jonathan Gold, our Northeastern New York Regional Director. Brian Main, the New England Player Engagement Director. As we get through today, we'll go through our PGA of America, our section, and our foundation reports. We'll then take a break and work into our town hall forum. We'll have board member elections and the swearing in ceremony and lunch and golf for those afterwards that would like to tee it up. We'd like to thank our supporting partner sponsors today. Purchase Preferred. Is Kenny here today? Those of you guys saw Kenny. Reed Exhibitions, PGA National, and Ron Stepanek from Brightview. And at this time, I'd like to bring Ron up to say a few words. Ron?
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Rich. Good morning, everyone. As a fellow PGA member, I'm thrilled to be able to sponsor section in a group of professionals like this. You're the heartbeat of the golf industry. It's great that I can convince my company to provide resources to the section to support you. And just want to take a couple of minutes to introduce you to Brightview, get it on your radar. Perhaps down the road we might be of assistance to you. First of all, about Brightview, the company itself. Brightview is actually the largest landscaping company in the country. $2.5 billion company, publicly traded, over 22,000 employees. We're Toro's #1 customer. And we do a lot. And our primary business is just landscaping for community associations and do tree work, do stone removal. And I put this up here, I love this slide, but baseball fans, ever seen the movie Field of Dreams? And you know that they played the past 2 years on an island. Well, our company built those fields and continue to maintain them. So it's a company that's a very well-established, very secure company. And we also have a division that's dedicated to golf course maintenance. We're like a management company, but we only do the maintenance. We've been around for 40 years. We've got 80 golf courses. And again, golf course maintenance is all we do. Oh, out of here. Now about me. Quick trivia question. I know we've got some old timers in here. Thinking back, 1993, who was your executive director? No, let's Bill came after.
Bill Gressick. Dan Jarrett.
It's Jeff Gunning. And I know that because I became executive director for Section PGA in 1993, and Jeff wrote me a letter of recommendation. And so I just put this slide up here to just kind of give a quick snapshot of who I am again, fellow PGA professional, been in golf business for 45 years. Bounced around a lot in golf, and my wife doesn't like me saying this, but out of every place I've ever lived, Syracuse, New York has been my favorite. I love this area. I love everything. I love the golf courses. I love the weather, believe it or not. One other quick comment about, there's a logo up there with the Phillies. I can't say I'm a fan, but I live in Philly right now, and I've got a friend of mine that works for the Phillies, so I've gone to a bunch of the games, so I am rooting pretty hard for us to beat the Astros. But more importantly about me in this role, you know, if you find me on LinkedIn, I see my role as a relationship developer. I'm not in sales. I'm trying to help golf courses be more successful. And that's my whole approach with Brightfield. To explain our services, to give you an idea of what we do, I want to ask just a series of questions to have you think about this and think about your own golf course. Could your golf course be more successful if you had better conditions? Could your golf course be more successful if you had a streamlined budget or reduced expenses? Could your golf course be more successful if you had a higher performance from your crew? Higher accountability from your crew? Could your golf course be more successful if you or your general manager had less involvement with the golf course conditions? Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that everybody in this room that we can do all four of those things. But if any of those kind of spark the, you know, a what if, and you're having challenges, and you think that, yes, I could be more successful with one of those things, or any of those things, we're having a conversation. You kind of back to my style. I'm not here to sell you, I'm here to help. And I'll be honest, if I think we can help. Again, you know, if any of these things are of interest, stop on by. Happy to chat to you. You know, and one other thing to keep in mind about Brightview in considering this, one thing that I've learned and working with our 80 golf courses and selling, golf professionals see us as an incredible enhancement to their job security. Because think about it, you're gonna potentially improve conditions, save costs, whatever. Your course will be more successful. And again, maintenance is all we do. We have no desire to be in a golf shop. So, again, I am, I'm Ross Pan. I really appreciate being here. If you have any interest in learning more, please feel free to stop by to chat with me. And have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you for your support of the Northeast New York section. So today we'd like to recognize and thank our board of directors, Vice President Mark Levesque, Secretary Matt Daly, and Honorary President Mike Bean. Our directors at large, Noel Gebauer, past District 1 Director, Rick Wright, past District 1 Director, Eric Teal, Matt McPhillips, Jeff Betty, Jim Beauregard, Jeremy Berger, and Kevin Kane. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank our committee chairs who put in, countless hours bringing things like today together and all of our tournament play, education programs, so forth and so on. Membership and special awards, Kevin Canale, Hall of Fame, Noel Gebauer, Board of Inquiry, Noel Gebauer, Education, Kevin Kane, Employment, Craig McLean, Player Development, Matt Daly, Junior Golf, Josh Hillman, and I see here, Tournament Committee, Chair Noel Bauer,
I'm exhausted.
and Assistant Committee Matthew Phillips. Thank you. We'd also like to recognize our newly elected Class A members from the Glens Falls Country Club, Mr. Bennett Sullivan. And having a home game today, Mr. Ben Weaver from Saratoga National. I can have both of you come up to the podium real quick. We have pins for you. We'd also like to recognize our newly registered PGA associates. If you are here today, please stand and be recognized. Tyler Hart from Pheasant Hollow Golf Course. Andrew Kemp from Pine Haven Country Club. Tom Matisse from Pine Haven Country Club. Joe Burton from the College Golf Course at Delhi. And Joe Monty from the Edison Club. Welcome. We'd also like to recognize our section members that have 10 years of section membership. Mr. John Souza, Brad Gardner, and Doug Wiltsey. If you're all come up to the podium real quick. Brad, I thought I saw you here somewhere.
I think he stepped outside.
Are you up here? Yeah, come on. All right. Come on, Souza. We'd also like to thank our members with 25 years of section membership. Mr. Mark Lane, Dave Earhart, Tim Leach, and Keith Springer. If any of you guys are here, please come up. We'd also like to thank Mr. Tom Haggerty, 50 years of service at Glens Falls Country Club. Very proud, and we can give Tom a big round of applause. We'll miss you there, Tom, but we certainly will hold the team up a little bit more.
I'm not going anywhere. She's gonna volunteer now. Poor
At this time, I'd like to bring up the Northeast Regional PGA Director, Jonathan Gold.
Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. I'm going to start actually with a very quick story because I have to share with the PGA members that probably relate to this. So, yesterday morning, I'm taking my oldest son to soccer. He's 3.5 years old, and he's playing the fearsome green team. So, trying to ease the tension with Reese, my oldest. I asked him, I said, hey buddy, what would you like to be when you get older? This is a loaded question for those that are parents in the room who really understand that. And he says, I want to be a PGA professional. And I'm blown away because we rarely even had a conversation, let alone golf, about a PGA professional. And I said, this is why. And he says, because they're really cool. So I want to thank you all for obviously being really cool in the eyes of my 3.5-year-old, but in tens of millions of people across this country and this world. So I thought that was really cool. And I think sometimes we have to take a step back to really look about the impact we make on people's lives, which is awesome. So I'm going to cover things quickly. Unfortunately, Chris Lewinsky could not be here today. Everyone knows who Chris Lewinsky is. He's at the Western PGA meeting. We're going to cover some of his report. Before I do that, I just want to give a quick regional model update. I think that most of us are kind of aware of what it is. It's been into effect since April 1st this past year. And really what it is bring the field team, player engagement consultants and career consultants to align closely together with their mission. To fulfill their mission is to be the positive difference in PGA members' lives. And obviously, work very closely with the section, Tracy, and her team as well. So with that being said, and career services are a quick update. We're going to concentrate on a couple things here. First thing is the labor shortage. We all know what's going on. We all probably feel it. Work-life balance. You've seen the article with all professional prices out there. Data and how that can help you. And lastly, PGA executive search. I'm going to start with PGA executive search. I don't believe we have a slide on that. PGA executive search was launched 4 years ago. At the time, it was a little bit misunderstood maybe about the reasoning behind it. But ideally, it was created to have more PGA members interview for the best positions in the country, right? What that evolved into is not only a revenue stream for the association, which is close to about $1 million, but also the benefits of that PGA members' compensation. So last year, 2022, the career services team was able to do the PGA executive search, increase PGA member compensation with negotiations with employers by $4 million. This year, we're already at that, and we're projected to do $6 million in net increases in compensation just with negotiations with employers. So that product in itself, obviously, started 4 years ago. I don't think we ever imagined to have this much impact. It just shows the value of the field team, and even Brian Bain, who's a player engagement consultant, who's taking on more career consultant responsibilities and driving forward that narrative on behalf of you, the PGA members, and how valuable you are. And that leads me to my next talking point, or eventual talking point, which is going to be the number of 8.7%. So regardless of what I say today, what I want you to remember is the number of 8.7%, and I can get to that very shortly. The labor shortage is real. I think we can all feel it when we put a job out there and we see the applications coming to our office and to our desk. It's not only with golf, it's just hospitality in general, and it's the climate we live in. It's not all that bad. Being a PGA member, you are in high demand. It's not that we're seeing a drop off in supply, it's just that the demand for rounds of golf and for PGA professionals and non-traditional facilities like utilizing technology are booming. And that's great for PGA members right now, and ultimately increases in compensation. Now that number 8.7%, does anyone know what that means? Anyone hear that number recently? That number is the cost of living adjustment for next year. If you are not earning 8.7% more next year, you're not living the same quality of life you did last year. If we compare that with 5.9% in 2022, you're almost at 15% increase. If your compensation is not increased by your 15%, you're not living the same quality of life. So please fill out the compensation survey, work closely with your career consultants, player engagement consultants. Let us help you negotiate that increase. The balance of power is on you. You're in great demand. The clubs are filled with money right now, frankly, because of PPP and loans. And how can we invest in the most important asset of the club, and that's you. Okay? So please let us be part of that narrative moving forward. Now, contrary to that, we have the conversation of work-life balance. I'm pretty sure that everyone in this room has read the article, The Golf Professional Crisis, and really shed light on something that we felt for a long time. And post-COVID, the pain point of increased rounds and what that can do to burnout the staff. And I talked with Brian. Brian's heard me use this analogy before. Amazingly, when we have conversations with PGA professionals that are exiting the industry, and often the youngest professionals. We ask them why are you in the industry, and they say, I see how my head-on professional works, and I can't imagine that quality of life is something that I want to live. So I know for a long time it's a labor of love what we do, and that's fantastic. But sometimes, true to the game, we have to leave it better than what we found. And I use the analogy of a lighthouse and a tugboat. Both bring ships into a harbor. The tugboat does it by force, but the lighthouse will survive pretty much forever, with just a light showing an example of how it should be done. So I know you may be passionate about it, but if you, as a PGA Professional Director of Golf, can leave the table better for your assistants, then we'll ultimately create and skew the work-life balance better for those that are entering the industry. That's exactly what we're looking for. You need help in that conversation, obviously we can help you with that. And that, to have that conversation, we need data. The team has done a wonderful job, and you, Tracy, and the team for the compensation information. We say it every year, it's incredibly important, it's more important now than ever to get that adequate compensation, because PGA member compensation is going up, and we need to capture that to keep driving compensation forward. We can create customized reports for you, so no longer are we going to allow employers to say, oh, well, that's not our club, because we can pull compensation information from your peer set and give it to you confidentially for you to hand to your employer. Say after it was launched, we talked last year in a partnership with the PGA America, and then coming up soon will be a model to help not only the public operators, but private operators help you with your operational data. And then we get into what would be my sweet spot, which is near and dear to me. I think Chris Kalinsky talked about this, which is the payroll per round. The payroll per round metric, I think you're all now familiar with, has become an operational benchmark in our industry very quickly. Employers who recognize this number and know exactly what is needed to put into your operations payroll to make sure that you're exceeding or at the same level of service standards that you were in years past. Just a quick shout out for your compensation survey. We have the goal here of 70%, with 31 short of getting to that number. So if you have a chance to fill it out, we really appreciate that. That number really helps out with fellow golf professionals and the team to drive forward compensation. At a time where 8.7%, repeating it, is the standard of what the increases should be. Some of these coming down the pipeline that we will be aware of and will shed more light on this prior to the spring meeting is some legislation, things that are going on. The EPA waters in the U.S., the final rules expected very soon. We have the Department of Labor. This came up a couple of years ago with exempt status that is now in the comment period, as well as an independent contractor ruling that is in the comment period. These will affect those for the independent contractor, it will affect their caddies and teaching professionals. Some of this ruling will affect us, so we'll have that information for you in the spring. And then OSHA, the heat and illness prevention. I know it's cool right now, but sometimes we do get it over 100 degrees. We need to be aware that what we are operating is in the guidelines of OSHA compliance, and at least be aware of it. And then we'll touch on recruiting very quickly. Chris Kalinsky, as you know, leads up the recruiting team of 4 individuals. We are in the process of hiring 3 additional individuals, 1 to serve for each region of the country. And their day-to-day task is to increase the amount of individuals interested in careers in golf, whether they be PGA professional or not, is to help complement or help with the labor shortage in our industry. Year-to-date, they've made almost 30,000 professionals with those that are widely interested in the game of golf. These are college students, these are military veterans, anyone that has a touch point into the game. And from that, about 3,000 leads come from this team. So we're starting to see a nice increase in their recruiting efforts, all on behalf of the PGA members looking to attract staff and staffing for now. That concludes my report. It is obviously a pleasure of mine to be here with you today. I'm speaking on behalf of our team. It really is a pleasure. I'm super grateful to wake up every morning to be hopefully a positive difference in your lives. So please feel free to give your career consultants, your player engagement consultants, your recruiting specialists, all for your help. So thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to welcome District 1 Director and the Director's Report from Larry Kelly. Larry.
I'm actually not yet district director, but I will be shortly in November at the annual meeting. I'm going to introduce myself. Many of you know me already, but there are many in this room who don't know me. Larry Kelly, live in Ludlow, Vermont, 26-year PGA member, married for 25 years to my wife Sandy, 2 children, Hope and Paige. I also have a business in town, Queensbury, New York, just up the road. Obviously, most of you know that I'm the East Coast distributor for upstate New York and New England. Introducing myself, I started in the business as a green grass golf professional at many courses, just like many of you did. Semi-private, kind of blue collar. Moved to Florida, moved to Boston at a high-end private club, and then I transitioned in 2001 to the dark side, so to speak. Never thinking that I would go away from being a green grass golf professional, but as life takes its turns, I sold golf equipment, and then I went and started the business in 2009. New England, PGA, I've been involved in chapter governance and section governance as president, as I finished up president in 2017, ran for this office representing District 1, Connecticut, New England, and upstate New York. Before I ran for office, I didn't realize really what District 1 entailed, how many times I'd be in sections, how many nights I'd be away. I enjoy giving back, it's a passion of mine. John just spoke about employment. Currently I'm the employment chair, career services chair for the New England section. I have a lot of impact or relations with our executive director, Mike Higgins, and also with Tracy here and our district career consultant, Dave Wilson. So going through that, Tracy asked me to give a little home site review, and we talked about Frisco. And I'm sure at the round table we'll have a little more discussion with Don, but let's talk about Frisco. Everybody thinks about Frisco, we're moving home sites and everything, and we call it headquarters, we call it home, but we're really in PGA land and Frisco, Texas, we're calling it our home, okay? That's kind of what we opened in August, and we called it our home. Seth Waugh and Jim Richardson talked about it. We had a lot of dignitaries from the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, Ed Tupel Jones, Tony Dorsett. A lot of the people from Frisco showed up, and they welcomed us to the community. It was eye-opening as a member from Vermont to see what we built. It's a special place, a place where you can bring members. We have world-class education for an apprentice all the way up to continuing education for members. So when we get there, if you've seen videos of it on our website, you will realize that it's not just a headquarters, it's a place that it's a place that's going to live, and it's going to be and I guess I would say it would be one of the nicest places you'll ever be able to bring people and be educated in. So as we get through, when Don's up there, we'll talk a little bit more about that, because Don's very passionate about Frisco. The one thing that Frisco will do is try to spotlight brightly when it comes to championships. KPMG, a women's championship, we're going to have senior championship, PGA championship, and possibly Ryder Cup, all at our home, PGA Frisco. So that's kind of a big deal. Dallas has welcomed us into the market. Number 5 in the media and the USA. So what we're going to do is it's going to be all over the place. And just talking to people from Dallas, when I said I'm going to Frisco, or I live in Dallas or Fort Worth, they go, oh, you're in the PGA, you're going to Frisco. So everyone knows about us in Dallas, so it's kind of neat. Lastly, I guess this is a big discussion point at your board meeting about the PAT. In March, we had a meeting in Frisco, and the PAT discussion came out amongst a whole bunch of committees, and it was talked about that we were going to go to an 18-hole PAT. Anybody like that? Raise your hand if you want an 18-hole PAT. Raise your hand. Anybody? That was quickly shelved, and it went back to a 36-hole PAT, which is what many of us passed our 36-hole PAT. Matter of fact, looking at one pro in the front row here, Jeff Estes and I passed the PAT on the same exact day,
No, you didn't.
1993, I think it was.
I fixed your card.
Thank you. So, as a conversation, turned and went all over the place amongst committees. We came back in August to Frisco, and we talked more about the PAT. And we are going to continue. There's a amendment to the Constitution, I guess I would say, resolution, and they're going to propose, meaning the board of directors, that we take the 36-hole PAT and we can, and it's not always going to be, we can chop it up into two 18-hole rounds within a 12-month period. So I was like, and then they said, well, right now, currently, you can pass it with a collegiate championship tournament we can do it in 2 consecutive days. And I'm like, okay, it's being done now. I'm okay with it, as long as it doesn't, we don't have to lower the score, raise the score, or at the end of the day, I want to make it easier. I mean, we all did a really good job of getting into the PGA. It's meaningful to us. What we're talking about, what Jonathan Gold's talking about, and what we talk about in this room is retention, recruitment. How do we get more people in to fill jobs that are unfilled currently? So hopefully, we will find out how the board, how the delegation feels about it. It's going to go to a vote. The board of directors felt that it was not something they should just vote and push through, which they could have done. And we felt that the delegates will have a voice to be able to talk about that at the annual meeting on the floor. And hopefully, if it means a lot to you, we'll talk about it later. But also, we'd love to see you get up to the mic and talk about it at the annual meeting as well. Lastly, my phone is open. I'm here for anyone. I'm your voice. And I never thought I'd be sitting in a room with so many qualified PGA golf professionals. The first thing that struck me was how smart everyone in that room is. It's a little overwhelming, but now that I've had 1 full year, I'm ready at the next meeting to get going on your behalf, on Connecticut section's behalf, and on the Northern section's behalf. So thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, incoming director. At this time, I'd like to bring in the PGA Player Development Regional Consultant, Mr. Brian Bain.
Good morning, everybody. It's always great to be up here in Northeast New York. The drive up from Boston, going through the Berkshires and everything. This time of year is just gorgeous. Just a few words on Larry Kelly. I was fortunate enough to serve in the boardroom with Larry in New England for a few years. And you can guarantee that he'll have a voice for you as he moves on in his journey. And he is always available, like he said, to help. So don't hesitate to reach out to him. So good luck, Larry. A few things I want to touch upon and just update you on where things stand with our team. We're focused on 4 things. 1, work-life balance, like Jonathan mentioned. Generating revenue not only for yourself, but also for your facility so that you shine a little bit brighter. Consumer retention. We always hear about growing the game, growing the game. Golf doesn't have a growth problem. We have a retention problem. And those facilities and those members in the room that can figure out, how do we keep all those new golfers that came to the game during the pandemic? How do we keep the lapsed golfers that return to the game because of the pandemic? And those facilities that can figure that equation out are going to be the long-term winners of the game. And then 4th, just sharing best practices and challenges. My territory, I'm speaking with members in 4 different sections. And I hear best practices, I hear challenges, and they're very similar up there in the Northeast from section to section. So sharing those and the ideas with you. So if you're doing something at your facility that's unique and you've started something that's successful, we want to hear about that because it could help the member down the street. We have a whole suite of products. So I'm not just a PGA Junior League person. We acquired a company, Next Gen Golf, that came into the PGA family this past year. They brought with it City Tour Championship the National Collegiate Club Golf, the National High School Golf Association. So we have a whole suite of products that can help you with your consumer retention at your facilities. Not only that, the MSRs that we've all been familiar with have changed. They are now called PDRs. You can earn PDRs for taking part in some of our products, so keep that in mind as the calendar is changing. So some success stories just here in our region up here in the Northeast. Michael Decker at McGregor Links, he led the section with PGA Junior League players. He had 89 players, so kudos to Michael for all that he's doing at his facility. It was another record-breaking year here in the section. There were 742 players that took part in PGA Junior League. Those coaches of those programs received $156,000 in direct revenue just from the consumers. So that averaged just over $6,000 per coach doing PGA Junior League. We often hear that junior golf needs to be cheap or it has to be free. PGA Junior League is generating revenue for you. We hear about the struggles that facilities are having with budgeting. Programs like PGA Junior League can help you subsidize revenue for yourself and for your staff's revenue. So keep that in mind as we go to the off season. And a few PGA coach stories. So this time of year, I'm always reaching out from those that have taken part in PGA Junior League. They received an email from me last week. We're trying to fill out our value tracker, which I'll touch upon in a second here. But PGA coach, I reached out. I have a PGA member in New England, Drew Anderson in Rhode Island. He was leading the New England section with coach leads from his profile on PGA.com. Drew had 125 leads, so I reached out to him, asked him how those leads were doing. Were they transitioning into lessons? He's transitioned 65% of those leads. So Drew's excellent at closing. The Red Sox could have used him this year. So 65% of them have closed. He had 81 of them book lesson and coaching programs with him. That resulted in $50,000 back to Drew in his pocket in the 2 years that he's had his profile available. I reached out to Matt McPhillips, who's one of the leaders here in Northeast New York. And he's had 28 leads from his profile. 19 of them have taken lessons and coaching programs. It's over $3,000 of extra revenue back to Matt from just having his program up there. So PGA Coach is at mile 2 of a marathon. It's just starting, it's just evolving. PGA will have programs that have lasted a few years and kind of gone away. This is not going away, we keep evolving it. So take the 3 hours, go through it, the ADM certification. It's free to do, and it takes literally 10 minutes to set up your profile. A few things that we've added with PGA Coach this year. You could put, we talk about the work-life balance. That PGA Coach is one of those work-life balance things, tools that we have for you. You could put your lesson availability up there. I remember when I was green grass and I'd come off the golf course, I'd have 3 sticky notes from Mrs. Jones, Mr. Smith, that all want lessons. I'd call them back, wouldn't get them, I'd leave a message, they'd call me back, we'd play the phone tag game. That all takes time. You can now go in there on Sunday evenings, sitting at home watching Sunday night football, put your availability for the upcoming week, put a few weeks of when you're available to teach. So when somebody calls for a lesson, your staff, or you could just say, visit my profile, my lesson availability is there, they can book it directly with you. All of that extra time, you could spend teaching more. You could spend it with your family, you could spend it fishing, whatever you'd like to do. But these are one of the things that we're trying to help you with that work-life balance a little bit. And if you have suggestions on PGA Coach, please feel free to reach out to us. We're always, we want to hear, we want to keep improving it. Also, PGA Coach, there's a webinar November 7th here in the section, so. Next slide. The voice of the consumer. So those that are involved in some of our products, we survey you. We also survey the consumers. We want to hear what they're thinking of their experiences with you. And I often get asked, how do certain programs keep growing? And they keep growing because you all are doing a great job. And you can see these are some of the comments in the survey, just from some right here in Northeast New York. Scott Batiste is great. McGregor Links did a phenomenal job providing a fun and educational intro to golf. We're coming back next year and can't wait. These types of testimonials from consumers, those people are gonna tell their friends about their experiences. They're gonna tell people about it, and that's how programs start to snowball. Jim up at Lake Placid got a PGA Junior League program going up there for the first year this year. His goal was to have 12 juniors take part. After he got to the 12, they just kept coming out of the woodworks. I think Jim ended up with 18, we were chatting this morning. So the juniors are out there, they're looking for products. These parents are looking for things for their kids to do. Some of our things can help in that arena. Next slide. So, couple things. Call to action. As you all are starting to wind down for the season, we're really starting to ramp up. This is our most productive, our busiest time of year, because we can have those conversations with you. Talk about 2023, what it's gonna look like. Start putting things in place so that you're gonna be successful. So, great time to look for additional revenue streams for the next coming year. Now's the time to plan for that, even though we all need a few weeks off once that first snow starts. Take those few weeks off, decompress, re-energize, and let's have a conversation after that. Go through the 8AM certification. Take the time for you. If you have staff that haven't done that, I think right now we've had quite a few go through it this year. I think we have up to 31 that have completed the process here in the section. So there is opportunity for a bunch of you, and I'd love to have that conversation. My phone number's up there, my email's up there. Please, at any time, call, text, reach out. I'm here to help you hopefully be more successful, shine a little bit brighter at your facility. So thank you.
This time I'd like to bring Tracy Warner up to the podium, our Executive Director, to talk about our section operation and foundation.
Thanks, Rich. I'm gonna say that was operator error. I know I put an ad in here, but it is finicky, so we're gonna give it a go, Rich.
Gotcha.
Give you a little signal. So thanks everybody for taking time out of your day to join us this morning. I'm pretty sure I know every face in this room. I've been lucky enough to be in this position as executive director. This is my 20th year, and we have gone I've been fortunate to do it. It's a pleasure serving the members. I love that we're a small section, right? Good and bad to both of that, but it gives me the opportunity to get to know our members, your position, your jobs. So before I get into just a few highlights of our section operations and our foundation, want to put a plug in obviously for the PGA show that's coming up at the end of January. This year is the teaching and coaching conference also, but registration is open. You can certainly pop in there. I know it's a great time for us to get out of the Northeast, get south, get some sunshine, be able to network, attend some education programs. So definitely be sure to check that out. And I'm going to highlight a few of our committee chair and committee activities. Education, as mentioned, right, so we're used to calling it MSR, Member Service Requirements. We are in a new cycle, so that has already started as of June 16th. It is now the Professional Development Requirements, so PDRs instead of MSRs are basically the gist of that. And it's changed just slightly, as you can see. You still need to earn 54 total credits for our Class A members, with 30 of those coming from a very required special player development programming. Out of that, 6 will come from meeting attendance. So if you have any questions, we usually print where everybody stands, so you can see that downstairs. We didn't because we're so early into the program. But if you have a question about MSRs or PDRs, if you've done an activity that you think earns PDRs, don't hesitate to reach out to us at the section. We'll certainly check into it. We're glad to help you with any of that. And Brian hit on it, but we just secured with a PGA Coach and RGX a standalone webinar, so absolutely free. November 7th, it's actually a two-part. So there'll be a trained RDX staff person who will talk about PGA.coach, the program, the initiatives that it has, the resources, and then essentially there's a couple weeks in there to let you go home, digest. We're nearing the end of our season, so you may still be able to put those into play. And I know we have a lot of more indoor simulators. So if you do that, the goal is to come back on November 21 for the part 2 of it, to be able to offer Q&A with that instructor, ask questions about how to implement. So highly encourage you to get registered and take part in that. These are just a few bullets for our education. Hasn't really been mentioned, but with the new presidency, new committee chairmen are going to be elected, new committees. So if you are interested in taking part in any certain activity, let me know, certainly let Mark know, any board member, and we're happy to get you involved. Our special awards, obviously we have our standalone banquet that will be in its second year, November 10th. We're looking forward to celebrating all of our award winners. As you can see, not only our special award winners, but our players of the year. So congratulations to all of those winners, and we're looking forward to November 10. Finance report, certainly these are all available on the back end of the website if you want to see. I can share with you that PGA has worked hard. I think John was involved. I know Mike Bean was involved. There's a new finance dashboard for our officers to make it a little easier for them to navigate reports at their fingertips when they want to look something up versus saying to Tracy, hey, can you send us a report, or where do we stand, versus just our quarterly reports. So we're very stable and healthy. Obviously, like all of yours, the investment statements aren't the best to look at the end of the month. But we are well insulated. We're in it for the long haul. And we do have some other investments that sit aside and aren't really subject to those fluctuations. A few slides with our memberships by the numbers. I know a couple gentlemen before me touched on it in terms of the labor shortage, recruitment. As you can see, we stay pretty stable at 180 members, and that's associates, life members, Class A members. Our associate numbers are clearly down. I know when I started 20 years ago, we had we were in the 40s, 45. So definitely, I know that you're feeling it. I know we can feel it. Also wanted to give a big plug on the PGA.org. If you're in there using that, and you've seen it, you do need to do the security authentication. If you have any questions, just let me know. We have some quick steps on it to make it easy. And then our tournament reports, really just in the process of kind of compiling everything. Noel has chaired that for the past couple of years. So just give that little jiggle and let it show on that one. For tournaments, thank you to all the hosts. Congratulations to all the winners. I know Christian's in the process of putting that schedule together. So if you are interested in hosting, just let him know. I know he has a basic structure and outline right now. And I'm going to touch on the foundation quickly, and we have a special guest we're going to bring up with us, but we're very early into the foundation. So it was established smack in the middle of COVID in 2021. So obviously not a lot of activity happening with that. 2022 was our first really operational year. And previous to that, we just named 3 directors to get it through the IRS and get it established. But thanks and congratulations to these members who stepped up and really said, I wanna help with the foundation and be a part of it. So they have been named to the executive committee. And looking forward to, we actually have our first official meeting tomorrow with this group. Thank you. So this is quickly just a really few activities that we've done. Happy to say that we're giving out $12,000 in scholarships and grants this year. You can see where those come from. We have 4 active PGA Hope programs where we've had 45 graduates. In a moment, I'm gonna bring Bud up, and he's gonna talk a little bit about the inaugural Northeast PGA Hope Cup and his experience with Hope. And then, of course, our youth programs, Brian hit on a myriad of what those are, and those are all the programs that we're doing. You know, I know that you all are out there doing your own programs as well. They might not be titled PGA Junior League or have a PGA Hope, but our foundation is certainly available. If you are doing something and we can help activity or resource-wise, please don't hesitate to let us know. And wanted to also mention this, of course, we've been pushing this, the PGA National Day of Hope is happening right now. So if there is something that you can do in terms of a fundraiser, recognition, all of those flyers, digital resources, they're all available. We're happy to help you with those. And then it is my pleasure to bring up Mr. Bud Bear. Bud is, I think, a 2-year PGA Hope veteran who's been with us at the Town of Colonies Hope program. So, Bud?
Good morning. It's an honor to be here. Tracy, thank you so much for allowing me to be here and talk about PGA Hope. I feel like I always been behind the ropes, now I'm out in front of the ropes. So before coming in, I took $5 and I got 3 mulligans to make it through this speech. Anyhow, before I tell you about my experience at the PGA Hope Tournament in Springfield, Mass., I'd like to share with you how I got to this point. Last year, following several surgeries from service in Vietnam, I had 2 total hip replacements, 2 total knee replacements. In Vietnam, of course, I was shot off the bridge, blown out of possible. I wasn't worldly received in that country at all. I'll never go back. But I decided to try golf again last year, senior league. And my wife and I, she played. And we went to play golf, and I said, I think I really need lessons. She said, well, get one. I never had the opportunity to get lessons. Do it. And I said, okay. And I had the honor of having one of the nicest PGA professionals give me a lesson, Mr. Christian Torres. Thank you. In my lesson, I explained to him about my disabilities and playing golf. It's not easy to play golf, period. When you have disabilities, it makes it harder. And he really wasn't only a coach, but he was a mentor. He understood my problems, and he gave me a lot of help and understanding. And through him, I was able to work with the Town of Colony Golf Course, where I got to meet another wonderful person, Mr. Bill Gayball. And his support of the program really gave me a chance, not only to prove my claim of golf, but it gave me a chance to meet other veterans and work through our challenges together. And the result of that program has given me a better feeling about myself and about others. About a month ago, my wife and I went over to try to play some golf at the town course. And Kristen says, no one wants to talk to you. Oh boy, I'll say it wrong. Well, Noah says, no, yes. He went, oh, yes. But would you like to be my fortune to go to Springfield, Mass., being a PGA Hope program for the veterans? I go, really? He says, you're on my team. I says, oh boy. So I got to Springfield Country Club, and I was so warmly received by so many PGA professionals like yourselves. It was like, wow, I can't believe this. And then I got to meet more veterans from Connecticut, Massachusetts, and all around the area. and we got to share our experiences of being in service and playing golf. And that was an experience that I never thought would ever happen to a little 1-8 girl. But I was then amazed. I was given this PTA book, attire, and I said, wow, Christmas in October. They gave me towels and cutting board, and then we had a beautiful lunch, and then the tournament started, and I got to cheer for my other veterans as they teed off for the first tee. And then it was my turn. And I got up in the first tee, and they announced my name and my years of service in the Navy. And I had them bend down and put that little red white ball on this little tee in front of everybody. And I said, "Oh, please don't fall off the tee." Just stay there. Okay. And then I was nervous about my swing. But I hit the ball and it did go out. Of course, it went a little bit right, but it hit, no damage, nobody got hurt. And, but during the 9 holes, Mo was kind enough to give us a little pointer. And I remember the one hole we're trying to say par and all ready green. And he told me, so I hit a ball like 15 feet away from the damn pin. And it was like a trot, went up and down and in, and what? and it was an experience like no other. And I was able to have my wife come with me. And she sat there. And my wife's a Blue Star mother. In case nobody knows what Blue Star mother is. Blue Star mothers are moms whose sons and daughters are in service. And her main mission is to make sure that our veterans that are over in harm's way right now gets a box of comfort stuff, potato chips, candy, all the stuff that's nutritious. And they do this hundreds and hundreds of boxes, and pretty soon they're going to be sending 500 boxes to the troops that are over in support of the Ukrainian war. And she gets calls in the middle of the night that morale is low on the ship, sends some boxes to help them out, and that's what she does. And she was there today, and she enjoyed seeing these other veterans, and she cheered for everybody. And I wasn't there to win about the trophy, but when we got the results and we won, I was damn happy. And I mean, you know, those putts I made, oh yeah, okay. So my hope that I'm going to be able to participate in this program a few more years to come, because it's done so much for me, not only in the golf game, but with me accepting the disabilities. And I've made so many friends with this program, and I get to play golf with them from time to time. And I'd like to offer myself to do whatever I can for this program. And I'm available. And I'd like to see it expand throughout the area. Through this program, I've been afforded an opportunity to play not only Common Colony golf course, I've got to play at Springfield Country Club, and then 2 times I've got to play at the Bonasaga leather stacking course. And to play these type of courses is unbelievable. And then today, driving in and seeing this beautiful course, it's like, wow, what a dream come true. This is a place that I think I'm going to play it once in my way to Longfellows. And to think that I would ever be actually at the Saratoga National Golf Course, this is another honor in my life. In closing, I'd just like to say, PGA Hope has been an incredible help to me personally, not only with my game of golf, but how I feel about myself. And golf has become my way of life. I hear that you need help, you need people to work. Well, I can work, I just can't take any money. But if any position that could use a volunteer in exchange for allowing me to play some golf, I I'm your man. I'm there. I love this game. I love you guys doing what you do for us. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for this program. I've met so many wonderful people at Springfield. And to have a friend like Gerson who puts up with me, he gave me a 2-hour lesson, and he said, "They did throw 50?" I said, "Only a $50 bill." Never going to be on a golf course. And he said, "Well, today you did." I said, "49. And then when I went one time to Eagle Crest Country Club, our golf league, and they have a senior golf league, and I played what they call the C division, which for that was the champion division. Awesome. And we go up to Eagle Crest, and once I shot a 41 up there, and that was just luck. But that's a nice course. We get to play there once a year. But the Town of Colony Golf Course is a gem for me because it's 36 holes. We get to try different holes, different ways to challenge it. It's a wonderful thing. And I just love golf. I grew up with Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus. When I was 13, I went to the golf course for the first time as a caddy at the Albany Country Club, which was on Western Avenue in Albany. Then they moved, and then I went to the Colony Country Club, when it was now where the Colony Center is. And I remember caddying there, and I never played, but I got to see these guys hit that ball, and they seemed to enjoy it. So now that I'm 7 years ago, I'm out doing it, and I go as much as I can. And I love the game, and thanks to you guys for keeping this game going, having good instructors, having people that are patient. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. Thank you. It's my honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bud, and thank you for your years of service to our country. We definitely appreciate it. And well, I'll tell you, that day at the Home Cup was a pretty amazing thing to be part of. I mean, watching our veterans hug each other and welcome each other home was definitely a moving time. I come from a military family, and it just brought back a ton of emotion, and we definitely appreciate it. Thanks.
I'm available today to play golf with everyone.
Oh, by the way, Bud, you've got 3 mulligans still to use because you didn't use them in there in the speech. So. At this time, I'd like to bring out our Section Foundation President, Mr. Mike Newman.
Good morning, everybody. I secretly didn't know if I was going to be going before Bud even knows this. I wasn't sure if I was going to be before Bud or after Bud. And I wanted to be before, I'm going to be honest with you. But we met at Springfield Country Club, and I got to know Bud as well as so many other vets that were there that day. It was just a powerful day. And it was our pleasure to treat all these guys as members, and it was their day to have competition and to have camaraderie, and it was all what Bud said and more. So thanks again, Bud, for coming in front of our group for the first time. So on the note of our foundation, we have a bunch of things here. So we want to say thank you, number one. I know the guys in the back here. I don't know if Craig's here. Is Craig here? Kevin Kane, Rich Scott. They secured donations at their club for the foundation for different programs that they ran. And then we had honorary contributors as well. Lucas Cohen, Christian Torres, Noel DeBauer, Evan Silkworth, and Jeff Betty. So all of you in the room, if you're here, and just please stand if you're here. We have some golf bags building and running a program at your club. We've created these bags, basically you can hold one up high. So, yeah, so those of you who have walked in and saw them, so it's PGA book bag, we'd love you to display them in your golf shop, or put your clubs in and play golf. We want you to come up if you're on this list right now. We're gonna take a photo of all of you and say thanks.
Stand in front of our back. Yes.
You just need a bag for me to Flip it inside. A little taller too, right? Yeah. Flip it sideways.
Evans has one that is not cooler.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Late to the game. Thanks, guys.
So it's efforts like this that make days like Bud described possible. So as Don Rea said last night, it's just changing lives, literally changing lives, right? And this is not all we do as a foundation, but one of the great things that we do. So as we move forward with the foundation, sort of as Tracy mentioned, we started in COVID and sort of getting it filed, going through all the red tape, and now that the programming is starting and becoming active, we can feel that upward trajectory. Some people would say it's snowballing downhill. I like to use another analogy growing up. So one of the things that we're excited about is an initiative that we have developing a partnership with Paradox Brewery and Saratoga Eagle. Paradox Brewery is a veteran-owned business. Paul, the owner, is a retired Army pilot, and he and Jeff Nikolic, the owner of Saratoga Eagle, have collaborated and agreed to help us with a PGA branded beer. So we're in the stages now where everything from the art for the can, registering the name, there's some filing that has to take place with the state as well. But as we move closer to the spring, you're going to hear more about this. And what I like to say, well, let me backtrack a little bit. Basically, the proceeds from the sale of the beer will come back to the profits, I should say, from the sale of the beer will come back to us in the form of donation to our foundation from our partners. So what we're going to be looking to do with all of you, and this is where many of you can help. The beer itself is going to be in a can. It's going to be distributed through Saratoga Eagle. If you happen to be a facility or have a restaurant at your facility that uses Shanty but not Saratoga Eagle, we can still get you the product. But obviously, I think most of the facilities have both at this point in time. So if you have a restaurant manager, if you are the one in charge, if the restaurant is contracted out and you have a relationship with that food and beverage person, what we're going to be looking for is the pre-order. So they need to know how much to make. So in the springtime, we're going to be looking to lean on some facilities that are interested in taking part in this, and we're going to basically tell them how much we have allocated in terms of commitment, obviously give or take. We're not going to be stocking in at the office because Christian will be giving out to his friends a little bit, or I'd be stopping by probably for lunch. But anyway, we're excited excited about that. This is just one initiative that we have. And what I like to think about, there's all these little pieces of the foundation that are going to make one big, powerful machine. So this is just one little piece to the puzzle. It's not something that's going to be earth-shattering at first, but it's just another thing that we can do. And for all of you that are looking to get involved, this is a great way to get involved. It doesn't require you to come teach. It doesn't require you to donate your golf course. You would, if you take the flyer and you walk into your beverage manager and you say, hey, what do you think? Let's give this a shot. And if you've ever had the Paradox Pilsner before, pretty much, and that's what's going to be in the can. So I think most folks, if you drink a Budweiser before, you know what a Pilsner is. So move on to our next slide. Oh, okay, well.
All right, good slide.
Yeah, we're gonna take a 10-minute break and then we'll be back. But if anybody's interested in any of the foundation programming, just come up to anybody that you saw listed on the board at any time, or Tracy for that matter. We love everybody's input, everybody's help, because it obviously makes a difference. And as we saw today, everything counts. Every dollar, every minute that you can spend helping to change life. So, thank you.
Well, already took care of that. Okay, so in no particular order, I'll kind of throw these questions out, and whoever wants to grab a mic and talk about it, certainly. Actually, I'm going to take that back for 1 second. I'm going to have Larry talk a little more about the Northeast Home Cup and what it meant to our district, and if there's any other programs in place like that we can look forward to at the national.
Okay, so I was invited, I was at a PGA Reach New England section event on Cape Cod, and Mike Packard, who I think everyone knows, knew I was going to be there, and he knew that Ian Marshall was not going to be able to go to the one and asked, he goes, would you be willing to go? And I'm like, absolutely, I'm going to be driving right through there. I'd love to attend. Is Bud still here? He's hitting balls. So I'll just, and I told this story to a few people last night at dinner. I haven't told very many of this story, but it was my favorite PGA day that I've ever had. I was moved by what the vets mean to us, just in the United States of America, but also to the golf professionals that are doing the programs. I sat there and I registered some of the golf professionals and I said, thank you for coming today. And the first person I said that to, the gentleman says, thank you. And I'm like, okay, you're welcome. The next guy comes in, I go, thank you so much for being here today. He goes, thank you. And I'm like, all right, so I'm like sitting there. And I'm feeling a genuine thanks from the vets. But I don't, at this point, know much about the program. So Noel comes, we have some other golf professionals from New England and also Connecticut. And I can see all the vets, we do the Star Spangled Banner. So they all tee off. And I'm like, this is kind of cool, I was getting, Noel's talking to me about, this is a great program, I love doing it, it's just fun and this is going to go a little bit longer. This is how much it meant to me. I told you my favorite PGA day so far, in 26 years as a member. That night at the dinner, after Northeast New York Section 1, I changed from the New England whites that I had to, that Tracy gave me a blue and a blue hat, put that on, okay, as District 1 director, I can go anywhere I want, right? And Mike Packard, you can see it, just his face, he was angry. The stories that Bud told and some of the other veterans told were impactful. There wasn't a dry eye in place, and it reminded me of a conversation I had with my daughter about 2 weeks prior, and we were talking about war, and she was like, war, and I said, it's not about war, it's about what veterans have done for us. They lay down their lives, they serve us to get what we have. And I told her that 2 weeks prior. So the next day, after I drive home, I get home at midnight, and I'm telling my 2 daughters and my wife in the living room about the best PGA day I've ever had. And I started to cry. And not a tear, okay? I started to cry, like, probably, as badly as I've ever cried in front of my kids and my wife. And I go, I'm so sorry, I'm crying. I said, but this really hit me, especially today when I was retelling the story. And they go, it's okay, Dad. And that's when I knew and I did tell everybody that I cried a lot. I told a few people that but if you can host the vets, the PGA Hope program, it'll probably be the single most positive thing you can do as a golf professional. And it's, I talked about in my first thing about employment and how that's cash in mind. This whole program and seeing what I saw, and I know you're going to talk about it a little bit, unbelievable. So give back. You have got any programs today that we have in Northeast New York? 4? I mean, that'd be good to get an 8 for this year. And it just takes one guy, and you'll be impacted way more, in my opinion, than the vets will.
Yeah, I'll just say that, the power of PGA Hope is that it's the Department of Veterans Affairs gave us the green light on this. There are a boatload of military programs that offer recreational golf. There is only one that offers rehabilitative, and that's PGA Hope. That's why you can't even give a clinic until you are trained in adaptive golf. Who's been trained in adaptive golf for PGA Hope? So we got some work to do. Because we need to train you what to deal with when it's above the knee, below the knee, PTSD, could be a brain injury, don't know. But you can't lay hands on a Hope veteran until you've been trained. That's what we promised the Department of Veterans Affairs. And because it's rehabilitative, bud, when you had to put that little white ball on the tee and your hand was shaking, that's because we're trying to make you better. We do a boatload of programs in the PGA of America that changes lives. We only do one that saves lives. I think, Bud, you agree? We are saving veterans' lives when we get them out of the house. Mission 22 is that there's 22 veterans who commit suicide every single day. Go ahead, Bud, if you got something.
Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you, Bud. They do a lot of thanking to these veterans. And the 40 that I have at Augusta Ranch, I'm telling you, get trained, do the program, it's rehabilitative, it's saving these 22 veterans that are committing suicide every day. And the PGA Hope program should all be very proud of the Health and Wellness Week that we just got done with, that was in DC. Jason Epstein, the golf professional there, hosted the 20 ambassadors. So every program gets an opportunity to nominate an ambassador from their section, from one of their programs, and we take them to congressional. The PGA pays for it. And yeah, they play congressional, yeah, they get a locker, yeah, there's a lot of cool things. I'm not going to say it all about it because in case you go someday, I want you to be surprised. But it will blow your mind. But one of the most important things they do, there's breakout sessions, where we take these 20 and we say, hey, when you go back to the programs, we need your help. Because veterans listen to veterans, and we can try to grow programs as much as we can, but growing the programs will be way more successful. Rhonda growing the programs will be way more successful. So get trained, do the program, and understand that we are all in at the PGA. I mean, PGA Reach, if you guys are familiar, right, that's kind of the 501c3 of the PGA of America, and there's 4 columns under that. There's PGA Works, it's the stuff, internships, fellowships, it's great. PGA Hope, amazing. PGA Junior League scholarships, so the 4 kids can play PGA Junior League. And then places to play, which is something new that I can talk about later. But we're devoting a lot of money to PGA Hope because we see that it's actually saving lives. So please be a part of the program.
I'm just going to say a couple quick things, mainly because you're all listening to me in 25 years of being up here, and also because these 2 gentlemen to my right are in the know right now. And I'd just like to say, first of all, Don Rea, if you don't know him, and actually Larry Kelly as well, they're 2 of the most approachable people I've ever met in my life. When you want to get something out there and you have something to say about the association, both of them are just great people. They want to hear from you. Please take advantage of Larry, especially. He's going to be our district director coming up. He, a lot of you know him already. You know how approachable he is. Please voice your opinion. And Don is the same way. He's got a little more on his plate, but he would love to hear from you. And so proud of you, Don, for leading our association the way you have and how you're going to coming up. And Larry, you're going into a role that's a really important one for us up here in the Northeast. And kind of leading back to the question, getting away from Hope just a little bit, but also how can we utilize sort of what we did with Hope in that Hope Cup, where the district came together, the three sections. That we have an amazing situation going on here in the Northeast with PGA. We have 3 other section offices within a 2.5-hour drive of where we are right now. So there is a tremendous amount of expertise, a tremendous amount of great golf professionals that are within 3 hours of us that a lot of us don't even know because they're outside of the section. All right, there's a lot of great PGA education going on in all of these sections, Central New York, Connecticut, New England, that we don't even see. All right, because we're in Northeast New York, we do our best here, but it's all really close to us. So the challenge that I would have for Larry going forward is to try to get us all together as much as we can for things like the Hope Cup. I mean, how great was that, right? So that's really, that same situation can happen for all of us. Really open our eyes to a lot of people that are in the same kind of PGA culture that we have, especially when you're looking at Vermont, Hampshire, Central New York. They're just like we are. Same golf season. It's really, there's some great people. I learned so much when I do things. When I was the district director, going and talking to those folks, I mean, I've learned so much. I learned so much going to play the Challenge Cup against Central New York. You know, seeing how those guys are doing out in Syracuse and Binghamton and those areas. So to try to get us together, and it's not easy. I try because everybody's schedules are hard. Just to get a district meeting together is hard. But you know, just try to do the best you can, because I think the more we can get together, share resources as much as we can, and share ideas, the better off we're all going to be.
Thank you, gentlemen. The resolution is going to be set forth in Phoenix on the PAT. Like that, have all three of you maybe comment on that and start the down.
Well, I think it's cool that there's more resolutions. I don't know when's the last time you had a resolution in this section, but resolutions give the members of the association, the section, the chapter, a voice. And so don't be alarmed by this PAT resolution if you're like, oh my gosh, they're trying to make it easier to be a PGA member. You actually should recognize the fact that we're trying to be the most democratic association we can be. At the end of the day, this is an owners meeting. You guys are the owners of the association. We just happen to represent some of the leadership. And so this is your association. What we're trying to do at the national level is actually truly listen to our committees. There was a time when committees kind of met maybe every quarter, and you know, maybe it was great for your resume, but did you really enact any new resolutions, legislations to the Constitution? Committees should be challenging the status quo at all times. And so the membership committee was asked to challenge the status quo. That's where the affiliate status came from. That's where B26 came from. That's what's going to happen. We're going to lower the affiliate down to 16, so a guy like Jerry Hammond can have an after-school program and actually walk some high school students through level 1 of the PGA program. Maybe they'll want to be PGA members some days. There are a lot of things that happen at the committee level. What we believe currently, the board of officers, is that we want the members voting on things. And you guys have delegates. You know, you've got your 2 from this section, and so do the other 40 other sections. And we just want to make sure that we're listening to you. So this resolution of saying, hey, you can pair up 2 different 18-hole rounds and pass the PAT. If you hate it, great. Make sure you tell your delegates so they can bring that to the microphone in 2 weeks in Scottsdale. But don't be alarmed like the PGA Board of Directors thinks this should pass. That is not true. That is not true. This is a committee that's made a recommendation to the Board of Directors, just like in any section of chapter 1. And we've said, okay, that's an interesting one. We're hearing from our current consultants that we need to open the funnels a little bit. Could this do that, right? Especially when we know that on the student side, you can do a 2-day tournament. So really, it's just more difficult to be an associate nowadays than it is to be a student at PGA University or to be a student at a junior college and just want to be a PGA member someday, because you can always pass that PAT. So I think the beauty of it is that we're going to vote, and it's going to pass or it's going to fail. And whatever it is, we're going to hear from the members. And so if they say, hey, go back to the drawing board, so be it. But don't think the board of directors or even Don Rea is pushing this. I've got my own thoughts about it. The way I look at it is I am concerned a little bit on the inequity of that an associate is going through the program, has to play 36 holes one day when it's 115 degrees in Arizona. And is that the same as someone who gets to play 2 18-hole rounds in some, junior college event? I think that needs to be talked about. I'm not convinced the resolution answers all those questions, but I like that we're talking about it because I think something will come from that discussion in 2 weeks, and maybe it goes back to the members of the committee and go, okay, the delegation has spoke, this is what they think you should do to retool it, or, hey, congratulations, we challenge the status quo, it got approved. So I don't know where it's going, but don't think that the board and the officers are all on board with that. It's just we're given to the delegation because that represents the membership. And we are a member-run organization. We're just the leaders representing them. So I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. And I will tell you one thing we are changing is that it used to be during the informal session, the secretary would get up, they would announce the resolution, and everybody would talk about what they thought, and then there'd be a straw poll, and then it would be over. And then everybody would go that night having beers talking about the resolution, what the straw poll said. Because the next day, the formal session is when we're going to vote. That's when it gets legit and we start changing the Constitution of the PGA of America. This year, we're going to say, raise your hands right now, before anybody says a word. Are you in favor of this resolution or aren't you? And we'll see who raises their hands. And then I'm going to specifically come to the microphone. Because a lot of people are a little scared. I get it. I had butterflies too the first time at a national meeting. I mean, it's the PGA of America. We've been around for over 100 years. But you got to do it. And so I'm looking forward to the meeting. I'm looking forward and encouraged by the discussion that's going to happen. Whether it passes or fails, I believe the PGA wins because the members talk about it.
I'll quickly say that, I was not in favor, and I'm not in favor of the 18-hole BAD. When I found out that the collegiate players and some other events can take it a 2-day 18-hole and be passed currently, I was much more open to the idea. But at the end of the day, I'm cognizant of the fact that, we did 36 holes, we did it one day, and, it's a sea change from, this was in 93, like I said earlier, 1973, I believe they didn't have a PhD that was, in 73 and earlier, you could kind of just, you're a pro, kind of sign off on it. Maybe some of you went through it at that point. So, I don't want to dumb it down, I don't want to make it easier, but we do need to strive, and this is the reason this whole thing came up, is to get more golf professionals, more assistants to help us with our jobs. So if this isn't the way, we have to look at other ways as well.
As long as I don't have to take it again,
I'm going to second that because I was on the PhD tour for a little while and just sort of making up some shirts. So, it is interesting for sure. On that note too, and that's one thing the PGA of America is trying to do to help the associates and the assistants shortage. Anything else being done we don't know about to help bring players into the game, or players into our association?
Well, one, PJ Frisco, raise your hand if you've seen that drone video that flies throughout the building. Have you seen that? If not, make sure you Google it. The first floor is all about education. Every time I've gone there in the last 4 or 5 months, there's been a level 2 class that I got to jump in and say hello to the members that were the associates who are trying to be a member someday. So I think that's amazing. I think any time, like when Karen and I were, we didn't know where Katie was going to go to school, and it was during COVID. So one of the things we missed was a campus visit. Why did you go to a campus? Because you want to feel like, can I see my kid going to this school someday? Well, what campus have we had? And that's the most important thing of recruiting somebody. We got a campus now. It's almost 800 acres, right? We got a 100,000 square foot building that's dedicated to the PGA of America. It is the home of the PGA of America. Don't you dare call it headquarters. It's our home. And when you go there, you're going to feel that way. I believe you should take your members there. I just took my group of 16 high school buddies that I've been playing golf with every year for the last 20, except for the one during COVID, and took them there and said, this is what I've dedicated my life to. I hope Katie takes her kids there someday and says, this is what your grandfather dedicated his life to. Man, if that's not a recruiting poster, Jonathan, I don't know what is. We put Bud up there and we show that building, and you tell me we can't get more associates or people interested in this game. I mean, we were talking earlier about the hugs you get when you're raising money for a little girl's brother as a leukemia, or you're doing some veteran stuff. Put that on a poster. Matter of fact, we had a poster, right? They got rid of it, and I'm gonna get that bad boy back because I believe in that poster. And I believe in it because the very last thing on that poster says friend. And that's what a PGA member is. And so one, I think it's everybody in this room. We have to stop saying, oh, I never get to play golf. If some young man or young woman or old man or old woman says, I'm thinking about being a PGA member, let's tell them that it's not about FootJoys and folded shirts. That it's actually about hugs. It's about raising money. It's about, we raise more money for charity than all the other sports combined. Combined. NHL, NFL, Major League, who cares? We raise more money for charity. Those are things that we can talk about, Rich. Recruitment specialists. We certainly have 4 recruitment specialists out there dedicated. They're going to high school events, they're going to JCs, they're going anywhere and everywhere. People are playing golf and not playing golf and saying, you should think about being a PGA golf professional. We've never done that in the past, and now we have 4 people dedicated to that. And they're younger. I think maybe, Jonathan, we said some older ones too, because I think we've got some old people like to be a PGA member. Let them work the counter. That's fine with me. And then let our teaching professionals and our head pros actually walk the line like we used to. Where we used to, have handshakes and talk to the players who were playing our golf course and actually got to play with them, building relationships. At the end of the day, I don't think we're telling the story that we were a cost of goods sold. We're not an expense. Everybody looks at salaries and wages. We're a cost of goods sold. You put money, right, Jonathan, into a PGA golf professional, we make money for that club. That's a fact. And you have to fill out your compensation survey. That's something you have to do to help us. Who's sold a house in the last 10 years? Nobody? Somebody. You look at the MLS, don't you? And you find out what houses are selling for around you. Because you want to get the highest price for your house. Well, if you fill out the compensation survey, you give Jonathan and all of the other 40 or the other 20 career consultants the opportunity to do a comparison shopping for that owner, who maybe is afraid of losing their PGA golf professional. And then, well, they should be. Because if they haven't upped their salary within 15% the last 2 years, whatever you're telling me, Jonathan, they're underpaying their PGA golf professional. That projected number of $6 million in increased compensation net is a big number. And that's because we've dedicated career consultants to not be reactive, but to be proactive and meet with golf professionals just like a sales rep would. I think before you were putting out fires, and we need more of it, Jonathan. We're going to try to get it in the budget. We're going to talk about deferred comp later, and there's a lot of asks out there, and there's almost so much money that the PGA of America has. But career consultants now being able to actually just walk into a shop without being asked, like sales reps from titles have been doing their whole life, and checking on the pro, and having a conversation. When's the last time you talked about your compensation? I was looking at 6 courses around you. You were getting underpaid by at least 20%. Do you mind if I approach your owner with you or without you to talk about the comp rates that are going on in this area? Because you need to make a little more. And maybe that's a benefits increase. Maybe that's being incentivized with round revenue or other than just merchandise sales. But that's what we're doing. But you got to fill out the compensation survey. It takes like 5 minutes. It's gotten way easier than it used to be. So make sure you fill that out. So to recap, we have a campus. We have career consultants who actually care and increase the compensation by $6 million. We have 4 recruitment specialists, 2 out of the 4 PGA members, maybe 3. I think it's just 2. 3 out of the 4 PGA members. So that's what we're definitely focusing on. And I would say one more thing that we just did. I got to give it to Jim Richardson. He's been a great president. And he set up in a meeting like 3 months ago and said, you know what, isn't it amazing when the pandemic hit, the PGA of America rallied. We had the Golf Emergency Relief Fund. We created a back to golf document that we actually talked hand in hand with the White House and the CDC to get golf open, or at least stay open when states were trying to close it, or local city councils were trying to close it. So the PGA, really, because of the pandemic, rallied. And we did amazing things for our members. Well, maybe this is an epidemic, right? The golf pro crisis is an epidemic. And Jim says, I want to know what the staff of the PGA of America is doing. I don't care what we're spending money on, but I know we better start spending money on these questions, these recruitment, retention, work-life balance, compensation. And so Chris Hart has done a deep dive into the entire association, identified some things that we can spend money on, specifically in recruitment, retention, compensation, and work-life balance. So I commend him for that, and we're going to keep that torch lit in 2 weeks when everybody moves up the chairs, just like it's going to happen at the intersection today. So I think those are good things, Rich. And I will just answer the one thing. Those right, my door's open, even when it's closed. I swear to you, I'm all in. I've got 5 PGA golf professionals at the Augusta Ranch. They're doing the job. We're opening up Top Tracer in 2 weeks. They're doing the job. I have one job, and it's a full-timer, and it's serving you. And I mean it. I mean, so if you've got an issue, call me, text me, show up at a custom ranch, I'll buy you lunch. And it's a long way over there, but it's nice and warm there in December. And I'll take care, I'll cover all the costs of lunch and golf, we'll have a great time, play top trees. But seriously, I wanna hear from you. I did not get in this as a resume builder. I could be fishing, I could spend time with Karen, driving around the country. But man, I love this association, I love what you said today, so help me help you, because I am all
I'll just go quickly. We talked a little bit about, salaries and compensation. How many people at straw poll, feel they're being paid more than their work? Raise your hand. I will say from personal experience that Chris Kalinsky, will help you. He's available, and the whole crew and employment is available to help you. So all you have to do is make a phone call, say, hey, and just talk through it, and he'll give you some ideas that you probably didn't think of, or you thought of, but you didn't know how to approach it. And specifically, I won't talk specifically, but we're retiring a golf professional at Glens Falls, which is, I'm a member at Glens Falls since 2013, and Tom for 50 years. You're my pro, okay? Now I get another pro in Benton, and there's been a lot of talk at Glens Falls, specifically about Tom, about, how the transition is gonna work, and I'm really happy that it is transitioning to the assistant golf professional who's under Tom. But they reached out to Chris. Chris helped them through it. And I believe Benton would raise his hand and say Chris did help him because he has a lot of experience. So please call because it's there for your help.
Thank you, Phyllis. Don, you touched on a little bit about the deferred comp. Could we elaborate on that a little?
So who's heard of deferred comp? Wonder. Raise your hands like this isn't television. So who's heard of the PGA Tour's deferred comp plan, their retirement plan, the tour players have? It's amazing, right? Well, that's all that Seth did. I mean, for years, everybody's like, we need a retirement plan for the PGA of America. How are we gonna do it? Everybody's saying no. I gotta give it to Seth. He wasn't in there more than a year, and he had already reached out to the accountants, the lawyers of the PGA Tour, and say, how did you do it? If you're familiar with the PGA Tour and how they get their money into their deferred comp plans is by making cuts. And the reason was because they made the argument to the IRS and said, listen, if someone makes the cuts, that's when actually television's on, so it's helping the PGA Tour. So if they make a cut, they're helping the PGA Tour, so we can give them a little bit of money because they're doing something to help the mission of the tour. So says, okay, so how do we design this for the PGA of America? So we floated some things back and forth to the IRS and finally got approval. And the approval is, if a PGA member does certain things, right? They do PGA Junior League, all of the tools, really, that Brian's got, Brandon, you got everything, right? I mean, and so you gotta talk to your player engagement consultant. There's a lot of things that are gonna trigger deferred comp for you, so that you put some money in the bank, are really a lot of the things that Brian has. So, maybe you're doing a PGA Hope Clinic, PGA Junior League Clinic, it's things that you're gonna do. Well, then you're like, whoa a second, not all members are just working in the shop, some of them are sales, some of them are actually EPs and sections. And so we put a committee together, the PGA of America, representing every category of the PGA of America, and said, how does this, is every PGA member eligible to get this money? So we believe we've come up with a system, and it's a point system. And so the way it's gonna work, and you're gonna hear a little bit more about it in 2 weeks, you're gonna have a full rollout at the PGA show in January. But you're gonna get a form, and it's all gonna start April 1. The fiscal year of the PGA of America is April 1 through March 31st, so it's gonna start April 1. So we got plenty of time. But you're gonna have, actually, at one point, you're gonna have an app, but initially you're gonna have a piece of paper saying, these are the things that I've done to get the points on this matrix of points to qualify for a full share, let's say, of deferred comp. And you're gonna get signed off by the highest ranking PGA professional there. EPs are not gonna have to do anything, so Tracy's happy. It's not gonna be under the sections, it's all gonna be us. And if you jack with it, then you're gonna get a code of ethics violation. You'll be talking to the chair of the board control, right? But the way it's gonna work is that the board of directors is going to put, what's kind of weird about it, is that we have to put the money into the pot before we even know how many PGA members qualify. So is it 5 million? Is it 10 million? I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that out. Larry, get ready, because you're getting into the big boys table now. And now you're gonna be voting of how much are we gonna put in here. So I would say at a minimum, it's gonna be $5 million. And so, pull out a calculator, but say 2,000 PGA members qualify the first year because adoption is kind of slow in the first year. The 2,000 PGA members would divide that 5 million by 2,000, and that will go into their deferred comp account. Now, there will be a max, so if 100 people qualify, you're not going to divide 5 million by 100 people. That's not going to happen. The money can roll over, so we fully think that that's going to happen. But we'd like the amount that goes into your account to be between $500 and $1,000. We'd really like it to be 1,000. We've got some stuff with purses now, which we can talk later about and how that's impacting you and your organization that you own. But at the end of the day, we're definitely putting in $5 million. You're going to fill out this form next year. And at the end of the year, they're going to say, okay, did you qualify for all the share or half the share based on the points you're doing? And if you get all of it, boom, we make a deposit in your account. Let's just hit it in the middle, $750. And so do the math. You can pull up the calculator right now online. If I put a 25-year-old PGA golf professional $750 into their account every year, compounding for the next 30 years, PGA professional's probably going to have close to $400,000 or $500,000 in their account. Is it going to miss me at the age of 55? Yeah. Tom, is it going to miss you? It is. But are we going to leave it better than we found it? We believe we are with this. That's a great line, Jonathan. So it's cool. It's exciting. It's going to help some of us. It's going to help recruiting because it's really going to show that. I mean, GRP. I've been buying $100 shirts for a long time. I still only got about 30,000 in that thing. How about $300,000 at the age of 50? I've been a member for 20 years. So, I think that's going to be amazing for our young professionals and even those in their 20s and 30s, in their 30s, because it's going to impact you just through the time value of money and compound interest in 30 years.
Great, thank you. Might get a few more guys to fill out the compensation survey if there's some money at the end of the table, and a break if you will. Let's take time now to talk about the tour and how we think that affects us going forward.
All right, so it's out there, right? I mean, let me give you the speaking points of the PGA of America, which basically are your speaking points, because everybody's asking for cocktail hours at church, at family reunions. If it's anything like me, you're a PGA member, so they're all going on and laugh, and everybody's like, what's going on? Listen, as far as the PGA is concerned, we like the current ecosystem. We have PGA members who can Monday qualify for a tournament. That doesn't seem to be available with the other option. Why? I don't care, but I know we like the current ecosystem. As far as playing on the Ryder Cup, it's never going to change. You cannot play on the Ryder Cup unless you're a member of the PGA of America. That's why there's an A3 classification that was completely created so that PGA Tour members could be members of the PGA of America. So once again, if you're not a member of the PGA Tour or some tour that we recognize to be a PGA member, you will not play on the Ryder Cup. Could that change? I guess it could, but right now, that's what we know. And so we like the current ecosystem, we like the way everything's working. So now, what are you guys going to do with the PGA Championship? Well, let's wait and see what happens with other courses and decisions they make. I think any difficult decision that you make at your club, you sleep on it. And the more time you have to make that decision, the more you're gathering information to make sure you make the right one. And so that's all we're going to do with the PGA Championship. Right, once again, you're going to be sitting in the hot seat because we're going to make a decision on who's going to play in the PGA Championship. But let's wait to see what they're going to do in Augusta, Georgia. Wouldn't that be kind of smart of us? And as far as the Ryder Cup, let's just wait. Obviously, the official World Golf rankings, they've talked about that. That's been in the news. You got to get ranking points, even on our own Ryder Cup list. We acknowledge the OWGR rankings. So if they're not gathering points, they're not going to be on that list. And so could they be a captain's choice? Absolutely. Zach can do whatever he wants. Those picks that he gets. But right now, we just like the way it's currently working. I will say, because I alluded to it a little bit, the PGA Championship first was $12.5 million before Sotheby's. And then the PGA, the Tour Championship, well, not the Tour Championship, but the Players, that's in May, right, or March. They've always wanted to be a major, right, forever. The Tour Players have wanted that to be the 5th major. Sorry, there's only 4. But they went to $20 million for their purse. I don't know if we do that. And so we bumped up to $15 million on our purse. Everybody's moving up. We actually bumped the KPMG Women's PGA Championship purse to it's close to $9 million, which is amazing. Because the U.S. Women's corporate purse, as you know, when Ron came So what happens when purses increase? That means we're giving your money to other members of other associations, right? I mean, if the purse goes up to 20 million for the PGA Championship, we just took 5 million of your bargain money and gave it to the tour players to play for. So there's a big conversation coming there of what are we gonna do? Do we bump to 20 million? Will that impact the PGA Championship if we're not 20 million? And all these 14 events that are now 20 or 25, and now we're at 15? Does that impact if somebody plays in it or not? Do we have to worry about that? Who's gonna watch television? I mean, the President's Cup, a lot of people watch the President's Cup. It was pretty good, but they're really happy it went to Sunday, because then it would have been a lot of viewers because it was gonna be a blowout. So, I think to answer the question, these are the things that we're worried about with your money. It's your money. Is we've got an arms race in the purses, and everybody's putting pressure on us to spend your money on purses. Maybe we do it, maybe we don't. We're gonna find out. If you got an opinion, I'd love to hear it. We also have deferred compensation that we gotta get money to. We also wanna double the staff, Jonathan, right? We're leaving the regional model. It's just like it works for management companies. It's gonna work for managing and helping our members serve them. Because now we have regions that have kind of the same seasonality. Geographically, it's a little easier. I think we're gonna be able to answer the phone a little quicker, especially if you live in the Aloha section. So these are things that we have to dedicate money to. So somewhere it's gonna give. But I can promise you, as long as I'm sitting in this chair, and I know Larry feels the same way, and the board and officers, it's your money, we want it to go to you. And so the deferred comp is the first time ever that we didn't have to give money to a section in order to get money out of you. We could actually just give money straight to you. So I don't see that being affected at all, because that would be a trans.
I
wish we did that.
Okay, we'll shift gears a little bit. Golf has been riding the COVID uptrend for a couple of years now, and we've also had some great weather. Anything as business owners, yourself, anything you're doing now, as there seems to be, an uptrend has been happening, sooner or later we're gonna have a downtrend. Is there anything you're doing in your business right now to try to get ahead of that?
One thing that COVID has impacted is supply chain. Obviously, we've heard enough of that. But with golf being really busy, golf carts in my business are important because they're revenue producers. I don't see it changing. I know for next year, motors not from America being built in America, and also batteries not being built in America are at a premium. So my business has been affected. So what does that mean? It means prices have gone up. It means my payroll has gone up, staffing, diesel fuel, everything that is exactly your business, everything is risen. So my business is no different. So, but I do believe, I believe it will level a little, but if we do our job, it's not gonna go in the wrong direction.
Well, let me put Don Rea, Augusta Ranch owner hat on first. I think rounds are gonna go down a little bit. We've experienced a little bit this summer. A lot? No, I don't think a lot. Before COVID, I had 43,000 rounds a year, and we've been dynamically pricing tee times for a long time. So if you play at a high demand time, I'm gonna charge you a lot of money. So we've kind of controlled demand with pricing. Now after COVID, there's no holding back. There's 53,000 rounds and we're charging more than we ever have. I think we're gonna go down 1 or 2%. I think it's gonna happen. I mean, it's a couple thousand rounds, it's gonna hurt, but I think it's gonna happen. So, what we've done at Augusta Ranch is I've invested in Top Tracer. We're putting in 21 Top Tracer bays. We spent $500,000. We believe that's going to bring new people to the game. 65% of the people who play Top Golf say they're not golfers, and 73% of those people want to learn about golf when they leave that place. And so if I'm going to have a bay, I might as well, and I have a fairway, I'm going to get them from my bay to my fairway. Because the bays and fairways program that Top Golf's been showing hasn't really turned into a lot of golfers. I think COVID was the response and part of the reason we had so many golfers. So I think doing something on your range that opens up, remember, only 8% of the population plays golf. 92% of the people don't even know we're meeting here today. So how do we get them out? Well, Top Golf has proven that food and beer and fun actually draws people to swing at the club. So we've invested a lot of money because I believe that'll create a funnel that'll offset my drop in rounds. That's what I'm doing at Augusta Ranch. What we're also doing at Augusta Ranch is we're leveraging the marketing assets of the PGA of America, because I'm an independent owner, right? I don't have some big management company. I have to do all my own advertising. So why wouldn't I leverage what the PGA of America's doing. And this is how we do it. PGA Junior Camps is something that Brian can talk about, and that's Dan Lindsay, PGA member. He just does one of the PGA Junior Camps, but it's putting him on the radar on PGA.com. And so he's driving people to his other programs that he gets 100% of. So yeah, he pays a little bit for the PGA Junior Camp, but it's become a funnel for him. PGA Modern Coach. We're having a lot of our coaches now. Listen, you're working 40 hours in the shop. One, we're not doing salary anymore. There's no more salary in Augusta Ranch. I think salaries and cell phones are a lie. I think you gotta be hourly. If we're more than hourly, you should get time and a half. And I think 40 hours behind the counter is too much. So now we're like, listen, 30 hours behind the counter at the most. Those other 10 hours I want you teaching, and I want you using the RGX method. I want you using what Roy Wallace is gonna tell you guys. He's coming out here for a free clinic. He's doing the 2, which I think is amazing. All he's gonna say is there's only one of you. And when you're teaching one-on-one lessons, there's only one of you, and there's only so many hours in the day. Do game sessions with 3 or 4 people. Do practice sessions with 10, 15 people. And multiply yourself that way, utilizing some people to help you with those coaching type of sessions. We're doing that. We've got everybody trained at Augusta Ranch. We're getting them trained on RGX, I believe, in the PGA Modern Coach. RGX is a company that sells what it does. But everything that they do is now on free videos on PJ.coach. It's PJ Modern Coach. It's right there for you. And the final thing is PJ Operations Benchmark. I mentioned Sagacity a little bit. Sagacity is a company that actually we invested into, PGA of America, for PJ Operations Benchmark. If you go to pjob.org right now, you'll see what it's about. What it's about is, who's familiar with the STAR report in the hotel industry? Anybody? Typically, no. So the STAR report in the hotel industry is something that a hotel manager uses to see how they're doing compared to the competition. What's their occupancy rate? What's their ADR? And if they're not doing very well, they need to make adjustments. It's like a golf tournament. You know, you gotta shoot 65 tomorrow because you're down by 7. We've never had that in the golf industry. PGA of America feels pretty strongly with the money that we believe in a report that if everybody participated, we could show who's doing better in that market. Now, every time we see a leaderboard on PGA championships or any PGA Tour event, it says Titleist next to those people's names. What if there was a leaderboard of golf courses in the market and it said PGA next to those anonymous names, clearly showing that 9 out of the 10 golf courses that are performing the best are PGA member run? Right now, we're at 50% of the golf courses in America are golf courses. That's it. Our market share is just barely 50%. How do we prove that we're a cost of goods sold? How do we prove that there's a return on investment as a PGA member? We believe we prove it with a third-party report called Operations Benchmark, and you putting money in there. And where I think this is going to be critical is we're talking to John, right? He just got his lease with the golf course. Amazing, John. Nice work on that. You've had some great years at that facility. I think we've all had some great years. Well, I think it's going to tick down a little bit. And so if you're being measured by your budget, we all work for management companies. Some of us have. Management companies, the budget always goes higher. At some point, you don't meet budget, and then you get in trouble. What PGA Operations Benchmark is going to do for you is if you start missing budget because the budgets keep getting higher, even though rents tend to dip because of inflation, recession, whatever might happen, you can show, hey, I know I'm shooting 74, I'm 2 over, but I'm winning the tournament by 6 right now. Everybody around me shot 78. Even right now, when we're doing great things, there was a Don, I shot 68. That's great, bro. I shot 62 because we've been managing tee times at Augusta Ranch for 5 years. So what are you leaving on the table when scores are going low? And are you winning the tournament? And then when it's windy and blowing out there and you shoot 75, is it really that bad, or did you beat everybody else? So those are things that PGA of America's doing. We have the PGA Coach Tool. Christian, I saw you had 40 leads. I asked Christian, you got 40 leads from your profile? Yeah, I go, so we're averaging $550 a lead. Are you telling me you made $20-something thousand? He goes, no, I probably made half that. Right now there's 180 members in this section. There are only 20 of them that I just looked have a profile on PJ.coach. Just 20. So I'm leveraging the marketing assets of the PGA of America to drive leads down to Christian. Matt Daly, you were second, you had 31 leads. I don't know how much money you made off that, Matt. So if I'm going to push down this marketing business, because nobody's going to beat PJ.com when it comes to SEO. And we're actually putting some SEM in that too. So why wouldn't you have a profile? Be if there's only 20 in this section. Get the profile. And right, actually, something's changed. It used to be that you had to go through the ADM training in order to get a profile. Now, some of you are like, what's ADM, Don? It's American Development Model. It's actually really cool. It does take about 10 minutes of your time to better understand why the United States Olympic Committee said we need to have an ADM. But we've eliminated that barrier. Now you can have a profile without going through the ADM training. Now we like you to go through the ADM training, but we're tired of any barriers you might have. So build your profile today. It's, I believe the software's updated. It just happened like in the last week, that's why we got done. But we were forcing that on the committee level. How do we make these a little easier? Maybe not PATs, but maybe easier to get a profile. So I can drive you $500 a click every time I send you a lead. So that's what I'm doing with the Augusta Ranch, and that's what I think PGA's doing. We're just leveraging what PGA's doing for us. We're just using every resource that they have. I mean, who used to have the pink calendar? Got that thing all the time, right? Filled it out, you highlighted when your off days were so nobody booked the lesson. That is online now for free. PGA.coach gives you an online booking tool for free. That's why you don't get the calendar anymore, because we just digitized it for free because you're a PGA member. You can actually get your lessons paid on that. I really like what you said about just doing that right now, pushing all your current students, PGA.coach, to use your booking. Because there's a unique link, I think, a unique link right to your booking account. So why not use that tool and get off the calendar when you want to?
Yeah, just quickly to add to all of that, getting back to the question, I think it's a really important time for everybody right now to take advantage of the fact that everything is going up. And there's no better time. And I'm not just saying increase pricing to pay expenses. I'm saying increase pricing and increase value. This is the first time in at least 10 years I've been able to, I'm in a municipal golf course, I've been able to go to our town board and say, look, we set records this year in income. It's time to reinvest, because we went 10 years without investing in like anything. I couldn't even get the bathroom redone. All right, this is the time to do that. And we're, as PGA members, in a unique position to do that, because unlike, say, our superintendent, who of course asks for everything every year, they don't have really the information, on the income side, on the rounds played side, on the net profit side that we have access to. And you can make a compelling argument now to do some capital improvements at your club. And it's really important to be a buffer as we go forward into times where we may drop a little bit. As you said, this is the time to get the work done, to improve the facility, so that when we hit the next downturn, you're in the strongest position that you can. So, and nobody can sell that better than we can at our club. So just a great time to do that.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from the floor? We're getting a little close to time here. So, anything anyone wants to come up and ask? We have down here. It's always pretty good to me.
Sure, I got a couple things I can say. I'm waiting for questions. Sometimes you just gotta have like a minute of just awful silence. Medical disaster relief. Every year when you pay your dues, right, that's an addition. My boss every year said, listen, I'll pay your dues now, but I'm not paying that extra stuff. There's no hurricanes in Arizona now. As chair of the board of control, I've actually seen where this money goes. It used to be called disaster relief. We just changed the name this year to medical disaster relief. And this money goes directly to pros. There is no money, other than the cost of a stand. It is pros helping pros. We're giving over $2 million to pros. The max used to be $7,000. Actually, you guys, we're going to make the announcement that Boise is going to go to 9 because of that 15% that Jonathan was talking about. We've got to escalate. When Hurricane Ian happens, and you're like, how can I give money to pros? We just gave $180,000 to the pros affected in Florida by Hurricane Ian. We're working with National Car Rental to make sure they have cars. We're working with Club Pro. We're working with all the vendors in the area. But really, the board, right? I don't know if you were on that link because you're incoming. But we quickly, within a span of about 8 hours, made the decision because we can activate, in a sense, emergency funds out of the medical disaster relief. And we did. We gave over close to $200,000 to members who've been impacted. So medical disaster relief is there. It's also if your wife gets cancer. It's also if you get cancer. It's also if your kid gets cancer. There's money in there. So if you know a pro that maybe hasn't asked the board of control because of pride, this is members helping members. So I don't know if you're given the medical disaster relief. You can do a recurring donation every month. You can go there right now on pga.org and donate to it. But it is it's seriously pros help the pros. So, I mean, nothing against United Way and all those things that money goes to it. They're doing amazing things. But if you just want to give it to PJ Golf Professionals, you'll get the medical possession. And then I just want to say one other thing. I always wondered, how do you get on a national committee? Because it seemed like it was kind of a good old boys club. You know, it's like you had to know somebody, and maybe you had to know the eventual president, and then you get on a national committee and actually see, what happens. Not anymore. We're actually, there's things that we're doing, that John Linder is doing, and right now there's a website, pj.org/committees. If you're interested in being on a national committee, I'm not promising you're going to get there, but now there's an application process. You go to pj.org/committees, you can apply to one of 2 committees, and throw your name in the hat. If you don't get it this year, that's the list I'm going to look at when I pick my committees. And I'm going to allow my chairs to pick some of the committee members, but I also want to shake it up a little bit. I think sometimes there almost should be term limits on national committees, because some people have on national committees for 10, 15, 16 years. I think there should be term limits. So I'm going to draw from that list that's actually was created by Scott Kim, because it's all it is a website that we do for job openings. And Scott modified it for an application process to be on a national committee. So I encourage you, if you're on a section committee, you've got some section committee experience, apply for the national committee. Let's put your name in the hat. At least then I'll have a list, a data list to go back to. And maybe call you up and say, hey, I saw you apply for the national committee, didn't get on one. I don't know what I'm gonna do in 2 years, but tell me what you're doing at your committee level. Let's get some change done in this association. And show me you're a doer. You're a happenator. I want you to make things happen. Be a happenator, and if you are, then I'll put you in the national committee, because I want to see change happen. A happenator. It's a no big deal.
So, quickly, I wanted to say I'm super excited to be your representative, but also to be able to serve with Don, who I've seen it for 1 full year in the boardroom. His enthusiasm is infectious, and he says and does, he walks the walk, and I'm looking forward to being with you for the next couple of years, so thank you.
I'd also like to thank you for coming out and joining us today and spending some time and sharing your life with us. We definitely appreciate it. And keep up the good work. The secretary to secretary call I thought was unbelievable and something new. And for all those that don't know, when Don became secretary, he started a secretary to secretary call. So all 41 sections in that was on that call. Get together, just chat about things that mean the most to our secretaries and see what kind of help they can get from the national secretary. So thank you for that. We definitely appreciate it.
Don't end unless I have to say, I thank my wife for being here. Karen, thanks for being here. Her first section meeting she's ever been to, she never went to one. Typically, there's not this percentage, 180 members and this amount of people in the room is really cool. Because the Southwest section's got 1,300 members, the last meeting we had 80 people. So it's kind of sad. So to see how invested you are in your section, that's really cool. It's a testament to the leadership, testament to Tracy and her staff, just making everybody realize that this is a good place to be.
Well, thanks again, fellas. We definitely appreciate your time and thank you from the rest of our section.